Okay, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Sorry, I kind of had trouble getting unmuted for a second. So my name is Cameron Fitz. I am an AmeriCorps Vista with the Wake County Cooperative Extension. I am the College Hunger and Housing Vista, and I will be hosting your webinar for today. And this is the SNAP Goes to College initiative. So first off, I want to thank you all for taking the time to be here and learning more information about your community. Working towards a less hungry community defines you all as food security leaders. So thank you for taking the time to learn about resources that can help someone in need. And here's the agenda for today. I'm going to try and keep it short, sweet, and simple, not take up too much of your time. And we'll start with the introductions and move into the purpose of the webinar. I want to have some research to back up what I'm telling you all about and what we can do to solve this problem. I'm going to introduce you and connect you to some resources. And one of those resources includes a few people from More in My Basket. I'm really excited to have Melissa and Efren here today. They're going to be talking about elemental information regarding SNAP assistance and what they can do to you and all of their services they can provide. All right, I am your host. I am Cam. I've been working on a few projects this past year, and you'll hear about these projects later in the presentation. My projects focus on food security and housing security for college students, and I'm trying to continue the conversation of building partnerships between community members who are interested in these issues. If you'd like to connect with me, please shoot me an email. I love to talk with anybody over coffee about these issues. I'm very passionate about them. And moving forward. So, introducing the concept of food security. So what is food security? Food security is knowing where your next meal is coming from. It's having enough food. It means having access to nutritious and healthy foods. And how might this look on a college campus? Well, more or less, it might look a little bit more as food insecurity. So how that might look is, speaking to students directly, and iced coffee for breakfast is probably not going to do the trick. A lot of students tend to replace their meals, they skip their meals, and it really impacts their progress in the classroom. Speaking to teachers directly, have you ever noticed when your students kind of hit that midday crash and they lose their focus? That's probably because they haven't had enough sleep or enough to eat. So having students only have coffees and not enough food before their classrooms isn't going to lead to success. And many students struggle with skipping meals, having to pick and choose between when they're going to use their meal swipes, if they have a meal plan. A lot of food on campus can be overpriced, and it forces students to wait until they get home to eat. Students also struggle with affording everything at once. Food isn't the only thing that they need. There are other necessities that students are forced to choose between, such as textbooks, healthcare, all of that important stuff that prioritizes someone's health. So students who come into the classroom unable to focus are probably not meeting their food and sleep requirements, and food security has a direct correlation for the success of the student in the classroom. And this will ultimately determine the student success, and that's backed up by research, of course. Whoa, sorry, it just moved right to the end of the slides. Okay. So 1 out of 3 students are food insecure based off a study in 2020 by the Hope Center for College. This kind of illuminates the issue of there being a SNAP gap with college students. So there's the assumption that students are not eligible for food assistance since they are in higher education, which is not the case. College students typically have the lowest income. It's a little unrealistic to believe that an 18-year-old transitioning out of the house is immediately going to be in the middle class. So we kind of need to take those things into consideration and assist that transition. So this survey concludes that 1 in 4 students hasn't even heard of SNAP. And more than half of the students have heard of SNAP, they just don't utilize the resources. So what this survey shows is that we can really work on our SNAP outreach and education. How can we get this information out there? So I want everyone to think back to a time like you were hungry, like you could eat cardboard type hungry. Heck, you might be hungry right now. It's around lunchtime. I hope you had something to eat before this webinar, but if not, if you're hungry right now, you might have trouble focusing at the moment, which is the case for anybody who might be hungry or thirsty and they're trying to focus on something else, but they're not being as successful as they would if they've already taken care of that issue. So if you were hungry, do you think you would have been able to complete something successfully? So a personal testimony is the reality is that I skip meals. I often don't eat lunch. I don't want to get lunch here on campus because it's too expensive. I get headaches, I have trouble concentrating, and I also have a disability that is worse if I don't eat. So tying this research back to these types of personal experiences is why we should be working hard to address this. Students who are working really hard to get a degree should also have the option to be successful while prioritizing their health. So what's the game plan? So short term, we want students to be able to focus on their studies. We want them to have the resources they need just to be successful in the class so they can get their degree and have a successful career and build, that income up. Long term, we really just want to diminish the gap between students that are eligible for SNAP and students who do not receive those benefits. So we saw that a lot of students are eligible for food assistance. They just are not aware of it and they just don't apply for it. All right. So how are we going to do this? We want to encourage faculty and staff to have relationships with their students. I know that can be really difficult to do with 18 to 22-year-olds. It's not the easiest thing, but we want that relationship to be strong so faculty and staff can make sure students are meeting their basic needs so they can be successful in their own courses. We want to potentially get some food security training for faculty and staff. And I also want to encourage faculty and staff to adopt a syllabus prompt for their syllabus. It will prioritize food and housing security, and it will also reference an online student resource guide that anybody can utilize. We want to end the stigma among students who believe they are not eligible for food assistance. This is a huge assumption. Many students do not, like we said, know about SNAP. They might know about SNAP and they're not utilizing it, and they just don't believe they're eligible for it. And we just really want to dispel that stigma, and we want to start centralizing food pantries and normalizing the use of them, just so it's more common practice and we can all be sharing food secure practices on college campuses. So another goal is to connect students and faculty to transparent and clear information. Eligibility requirements are not always transparent, and they can be incredibly difficult, and they flip-flop all the time. So that is why we want to connect students and faculty to the necessary resources for SNAP application assistance. All right. So having that outreach and education with getting students signed up for SNAP benefits, who's super going to be helpful with this are the resources that I've mentioned before. So More in My Basket is a huge resource, and I'm going to have them speak in just a second. And I just want to plug the student resource guide really quickly. It is an online student resource guide under our Wake County Food Security website. This is assistance for anything under the sun. You have childcare, transportation, clothes, food security, housing security. If there's anyone that needs anything, please reference them to this resource. It has links and it also has a step-by-step guide to walk you through SNAP. All right. And now introducing my featured guests, Efren and Melissa. We have a few questions. I'm so honored to have you both here today, and I will go ahead and jump into these questions that I have for you guys. Are y'all doing all right today?
Yeah, and thank you for this great initiative, Cam, and for giving us the opportunity to be part of it. So, yeah, we're glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I'm honored to have y'all. So I will go ahead and start out with the most basic questions. So Efren and Melissa, what are your roles in the company of More My Basket?
I'll start. So my name is Melissa Roseborough. I'm the program coordinator for More My Basket. I do a lot of the administrative things, outreach to our county extension agents who participate in the program. And then I also serve as Efren's backup for his application assistance and his community outreach as well.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Efren Maldonado, and More My Basket is a program of NC State University Extension, and I'm the bilingual program facilitator. My main responsibility is to be out in the community, going to participating in different outreach events, letting people know about this resource, and also completing the SNAP application. And later on, I will be telling a little bit more about that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So what is More My Basket and what services does this program provide to the community?
So More My Basket, we do fall under the extension umbrella. So we're under North Carolina State University Extension. It's a SNAP outreach application assistance and education program developed by our director, Dr. Carolyn Bird. So when we say outreach, we speak of the efforts that Efren does when he goes out to the communities, the different health fairs and things like that. Our education component, that's mainly through our county extension agents. So of course, everybody knows there's 100 counties in the state of North Carolina. We currently have a presence in 31 counties. So in 31 counties in the state, we have an agent who's actively there doing education of the More My Basket program and of SNAP benefits. Our third component, application assistance, that's something we do here on campus, primarily Efren and myself as his backup, of course. So anyone in the community who wants to apply for SNAP benefits or who may just have a question on the program can contact us, and we'll do our best to answer their question.
Wonderful. That sounds great. And you said that's open to all North Carolinians?
It's open to all North Carolinians. So even though we only have a county extension agent in 31 counties, we can help anyone throughout the state.
That's awesome. And could you tell us a little bit more about the logistics of More My Basket?
Well, speaking about the application completion side of More My Basket, everything starts with a referral. And we get referrals in many different ways. But once we get a referral, whether it is the person that contacts us directly or it's being sent to us by a partner or any other person, we contact that individual and we complete an application over the phone, because our goal is to minimize barriers that some people may have when trying to complete a SNAP or food stamps application. So we contact the person, we complete the application over the phone, so the person, they don't have to come to our office. And once we complete the application, we send them 2 copies. We mail them 2 copies back to the client. One of the copies is for them so they can have it for their records. They have evidence of the work that was done. And the other copy is for them to sign. And that signed copy is the one that needs to be turned into the Department of Social Services in the county where they live. We also include a pre-address and stamp envelope for them. So if it is easier for them to just mail the application back to the county, all they have to do is sign it, date it, put it in that envelope, and mail it back to their county. So we try to make things easier for our clients. And once it's it's at the county, then they have to wait until the county processes the application. One other thing that we provide to our clients is that we also send them a list of the possible documentation that the county may require for them, so they at least have an idea and be prepared of some of the documents they may need to provide to the county so the application is processed.
Yeah, that's amazing. Just assisting in what, just being the middleman, that's so helpful. And so regarding like qualifications, who qualifies and how would a family sign up for your services?
So qualifications are based primarily off of household size and income. So when we screen potential applicants or applicants, if they choose to apply, we always tell them that we base our screening off of the federal poverty limit chart. That's available on our website, morefood.org. It's also readily available on the DSS website. Those income limits do change from year to year, but we do screen off of the 200%. So for that particular household, we'll just count how many people they have in their home. We'll see what their gross monthly income is. It does go off of gross income. And if they fall under that limit, then we'll continue on with the application. That is the very basic qualification. We always tell people when we screen them that just because you meet the income limit, you're still potentially eligible because there are other factors as well.
Right.
When speaking specifically about students, sorry, I almost left this part out. Students must be working at least 20 hours per week. So in addition to meeting the income guidelines, they have to be working at least 20 hours a week. I know there was a lot of confusion because with COVID, there were various waivers where you may not have to work, you just had to be eligible for some type of work study and have no family contribution. But that has all ended. It is back to the normal. Students must be working the 20 hours per week in order to potentially be eligible for SNAP.
Right. And I remember we were talking earlier about how students, if they need to see if they are eligible, it would just be easier to reach out directly to you because eligibility is such a case-by-case situation that it would just be easiest to just simply reach out and check about eligibility.
That's correct. It is when we talk about eligibility right now, we're talking very broadly. So it can more general, but every case is different. And when I speak of students, we're speaking of, I guess, what people call the more traditional student, between in the 22-year-old range. But for students who may have families or things like that, then the qualifications, of course, will vary. But just for the purposes of what we stated, we're speaking of a single individual that's a student.
Sweet. Thank you. And so for these families, what kind of documentation do they need for application?
Well, to complete the actual application, they don't need to have any documents on hand as long as they know some basic information. Of course, demographics. The person who's completing the application should know the date of birth and complete names of the other people who's going to be in the application. The gross income of the people who are working in a family, the monthly gross income, because that's what we go by, the monthly gross income. Also, if they have any assets, such as checking savings accounts or any other type of accounts. I just want to clarify that we don't collect any account information in regards to account numbers or anything like that. Some people get a little, nervous when we ask them about that question specifically, and we don't need to reassure them that no, we don't collect any account information, and we don't collect social security information either over the phone. So I just want to make that
very secure.
That's secure, is safe, and we just go through the process. Some other information that would be important to have would be, if they're paying rent, if they're paying or a mortgage or HOA and things like that, and also if they have medical bills, because that's a huge category that the county gives deduction for some people who may have a disability, or if they're over the age of 60.
Sounds good. And so say a family or student called, completed the application process and qualified for food assistance. What could they use those SNAP benefits on?
So SNAP benefits can pretty much be used on pretty much any type of grocery. So from meat to dairy products to canned items, dry items such as rice, things like that. Fruits and vegetables, of course. Even seeds, if they have a home garden or they want to start a planter garden, they can even buy seeds to grow food, not seeds for plants. But things that aren't allowable with SNAP, of course, any type of alcohol, any tobacco, any toiletries, pet foods, medications, things like that. And pretty much most places that sell groceries, some form of groceries accept SNAP. And you'll know because typically they have a sign in the window or somewhere close to the register, they'll have a SNAP sign, we accept SNAP, or to say something about EBT, or I have a picture of the EBT card. So it could be anywhere from the super centers like Walmart, Target, to regular grocery stores like Food Line and Harris Teeter and Publix, to even membership warehouses such as Costco's or Sam's. Just keep in mind that if someone with SNAP chooses to shop at a membership warehouse, SNAP will not cover the membership costs. So they have to be able to pay for that on their own. SNAP did expand when we were in the thick of COVID to being able to purchase groceries online. So there's a number of stores where you can purchase your groceries online. Amazon is one of the biggest ones through their partnership with Whole Foods. But the full list is available on the DSS website. It's also available on our website as well, of all the places where you can purchase your groceries online. But again, keep in mind with any delivery fees, any tips, any non-SNAP eligible items that you purchase, you will have to pay for those fees. SNAP will not cover that. Also, just a quick note, if you are a SNAP recipient or a future SNAP recipient, SNAP does not charge sales tax on the eligible food items, so you don't have to pay for that as well. So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. It's definitely a lot of information. Thank you so much. And I know you said that there was one part of the application process that you weren't able to help with. I believe that's ePass, right?
Yeah, clients, they have also the option to apply online, get ePass. At this moment, we are not able to assist with the online application, unfortunately. Yeah.
So, right. And with the eligibility, so we already talked about how, like, with the eligibility requirements constantly changing, it's usually easiest to directly contact y'all. Is there anything else that y'all would like to add about More in My Basket?
I would just add in there that the eligibility guidelines and policies, typically COVID was unexpected, so a lot changed with that. But I guess to say in normal times, they're typically the same. What does change from year to year are the SNAP income limits. So it runs on the federal fiscal year, which is from October 1 through September 30th of each year. So just around that time, look out for the income limits to be changing. Typically they go up, but we never know what they'll do. So just keep an eye out for that. Just because somebody may have been disqualified before doesn't mean they'll be disqualified the next year. So that's just something to keep in mind, as well as the minimum amount that they may receive. That changes from year to year as well. Typically it goes up, but again, we never know for sure until that is published.
Yeah, and I know I mentioned that we receive referrals in many different ways, and I didn't I didn't say how, right? And so you can refer us people through our emails that were listed before. I mean, they're still on the screen. So you can email us as long as that client give you permission to contact us. You can send us their names, their phone numbers, and we will follow up with them. We'll contact them, and we will find out if they still would like to continue with the application. We have our website, and we have a contact form on our website that you can also refer us clients that way. There is a section where the person who's referring the client can put their information, but that's optional. If you would like, if you don't want to put your information, just send your clients our way, then you can do that. But in general, we would like you to put your name there, because we would like to know who are we working with, who are our partners, who we are collaborating with. And also they can call us. We have a toll-free line in English and Spanish, and we have our direct phone numbers were listed there. And you can also either give the clients those numbers and they can call us, or you can, give them our direct lines and they can try to contact us that way too.
Yeah, absolutely. And for anyone interested, their contact information is stated on the slide, as well as their contact form. Please feel free to reach out to them. We're also going to answer a few questions for like about 5 to 10 minutes after the webinar, if you want to stick around for that, or if you just like to hit them up directly. But thank you so much, Efren and Melissa. I really appreciate every ounce of information you gave us. It's going to be so helpful with transitioning students into seeing if they're eligible for food assistance. Just want to go ahead and move forward with how we're going to address this goals strategies. So this is a reiteration of the how slide. How are we going to address these issues on college campuses? We're going to encourage faculty and student relationships. If faculty wants to adopt a syllabi that prioritizes food and housing security and also references the student resource guide, that would be great. I also plan to have a drafted syllabi under my food security tab under the Wake County Food Security website in the next month, if you'd like to reference that as well. We want to centralize student services. So normalizing those student services, centralizing food pantries, getting that conversation of food security out there. We want to destigmatize that. And we want to have transparent communication with emergency services. That's a need on all college campuses. And what you can specifically do, students, you can volunteer at your local campus food pantry. I can guarantee you they need the help, and be active in your community and ask those questions about basic needs if they're not being met. I also have a student coalition I'm hiring for this fall from the 6 Wake County universities that I will go over once I get to that ad. I'll get to that in a second. Faculty and staff, you can adopt the syllabus blurb and just be a part of the conversation, build that relationship with your students, and be comfortable enough to potentially refer them to a resource such as More in My Basket. Food security leaders, I want to help continue the conversation and just staying tuned in and asking questions when they're needed. So speaking of just staying tuned in, next month I'm having another SNAP Goes to College initiative webinar. It's going to focus on food pantry grants and a food pantry app that is free to utilize. I'm gonna have my wonderful boss there, the food security manager of Wake County, Sydney Myrock, will be featured. All right, and now I'll plug for the Student Coalition. If anybody is interested, please scan the QR code. This is for college students on campus. These are paid positions, and they're going to be reporting back to me about their basic needs that are not being met on campus, and we're going to hopefully address those. All right. Okay, thank you everybody for making it through the informational spiel. I know we have a few questions in the chat. If anybody would like to ask a question or unmute, I'm going to go ahead and go through the chat and see if there are any specifics. Okay, so Efren and Melissa, maybe you know the answer to this question. Does work study count towards the 20 hours? If
Yes, it does.
it does?
Yeah.
Okay. And are there any factors that may influence eligibility that is specific to college students? So if you're getting like a Pell Grant, would your food assistance be considered?
That's not something that we typically ask or see a lot, and we may not see it because we don't ask this question. But I will say, when talking about college students, if we're talking about that 18 to 22-year-old range, if they attend a college close to their home and they still live in the home with their parents, then the eligibility criteria is a little different, because they may not be eligible if they're under the age of 22. Without being on the same case as their parents. So that's something that we do run into quite a lot with college students if they're still at home living with their parents. Something else that we run into occasionally are international students who want to apply for the program, but unfortunately they're not eligible.
Also, if the parents already have a case open, that they need to be taken off the parents' case if they're living on campus and want to apply on their own. They cannot be in two different cases at the same time.
Got it.
I have a question. Yeah, my name is Alyssa Kim. Hi, thank you so much for your
Hi.
presentation and your work.
Yeah,
in
thanks
Wake
for
County.
joining.
Yeah, I'm the food security coordinator for Guilford County, so I love to see what you guys are doing. And I was just wondering, for the students, the student program that is going to be providing them jobs to support their fellow students, how much would they be getting paid, and what training is provided?
So we've been developing that project for the past year. We've been trying to figure out the funding. We were given an ARPA grant to do the student coalition. I believe we're trying to give them like about $1,500 a semester. I don't want to like say it confirmationally because I'm not sure off the top of my head. But we're just trying to make sure that their services are being paid for. And via training wise, I will have a partner consultant who will be overseeing the program, and we will be making sure that they have proper training upon onboarding for the positions.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so I have another question about like work study. If someone has a paid internship, does that count towards the 20 hours as well? I don't know if you know the answer to this, Efren or Melissa.
I'm sorry, can you repeat what you said?
Yeah. Do paid internships count towards like the 20 hours, like the work study does?
I believe they do, since they are paid, yes.
Okay, got it. So just because it's an internship, it's still part-time?
Yes.
Okay. So someone asked if there's a difference between SNAP and food stamps. No, SNAP is like the remarketing of food stamps, essentially.
Also, in North Carolina, it's specifically known as Food and Nutrition Services, so FNS. So if you hear SNAP, FNS, food stamps,
FNS, yeah,
maybe talking about the
like
same.
all the same thing, right? Okay. Just to make sure there are no questions.
I also see a hand up with Wanda Hunter King.
Yeah, if anyone wants to speak up, Wanda, you can feel free.
Yes, so my question is, with providing like food and nutrition services or what have you for the students, is there any initiative to try to collaborate with some of the other resources, for instance, mindset, to try to help them be better prepared for budgeting and things of that nature once they transition from being a student to on their own? And mindset has so many different areas that will help them start to pivot and navigate their mindset to being able to operate without the safety nets and things of that nature. I think since we do offer that program, that maybe there could be one that's more collegiate appropriate for those students, and then offer those resources to them so they can learn about the financial literacy, they can learn about nutritional health, all of those type things getting together.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to like build a partnership for Mindset and the Student Coalition. We can definitely think about food assistance and like transitioning, you know, that career development mindset of, you know, being on college campus and then being off a college campus. Wanda, if you'd like to shoot me an email about Mindset, maybe, yeah, we can like kind of collaborate and see if my upcoming students for the year would like to be trained in that kind of transitioning context.
Sure thing.
Cool. Okay. All right. Are there any more questions?
Someone also noted in the chat that others may not know what cooperative extension is, Cam. And I can share. So cooperative extension, every state has a land grant university. They were established a long time ago with the goal of bringing research from the university to communities around agriculture, nutrition, youth development, natural resources. And so in North Carolina, we have NC-A&T, which is one of our land grant universities, and then NC State. And each county has staff that may be paid in part by one of those universities and in part by the county. And they deliver services and trainings that bring that research from the university to the counties. And a lot of times it's dependent on what the county looks like and what their needs are, what trainings are offered. But they're a tremendous resource. A lot of the great work that cooperative extension does in NC in North Carolina is building partnerships and helping communities kind of learn about resources that are available to them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sydney, for explaining that. All right, so that is the conclusion of this webinar. Thank you so much for attending. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, please follow up. We have our contact information in the slides. This session was recorded, so we'll post it on YouTube for anyone who would like to reference Snap Goes to College. And I hope you all tune in to the next webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You all have a wonderful rest of your afternoon.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks.